Hello, guys. It's Jeselle Eli here, and you are listening to Motivational Minds Radio. This is the program where we get to take a closer look into the minds of the authors who put the magic on the page and really enhance our reading pleasure to keep us motivated, inspired, and prepared for the adventures that come our way. So today's show, we have got Grant Todd on with us, and he is the author of a book called Survive and Thrive, a blueprint for innovation in challenging times. Now, Grant has just got an amazing history here, amazing biography of a professional experience. So he became increasingly involved with the achievement of methods that he's teaching here, and as a result of that, he turned his full attention to organizational development through his consulting firm. Okay, his consulting firm is Organization, and what Prevail Organization does is we have to start all over. I'm sorry. Start all over. Are you still there?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Oh, time trade. This is not working for me. I can't blame it all on time trade, right? I should have done the due diligence. Now I'm just making excuses for the technology, but it has been a very, very different week than that. So next week's going to be much different. Again, it's going to be awesome next week. Okay. Hold on. Okay, beautiful. So we're taking two. This is the second take. Here we go. Hi, this is Jeselle Eli here, and this is Motivational Minds Radio. This is the program where we get to take a closer look into the minds of the authors who put the magic on the page in the books for us to enjoy our reading pleasure. Their words keep us motivated, they keep us inspired, and they prepare us for the that life throws at us each and every day. In today's show, we've got Grant Todd with us, and he is the author of the book Survive and Thrive, a blueprint for innovation in challenging times. I mean, how appropriate is that? I'm so looking forward to this conversation with Grant, and I know that you are too. Let me tell you a little bit about Grant. So Grant is just a complete business success, if you ask me. He became increasingly involved with the achievement methods that he is teaching in this book, and in 1995, he turned full attention to organizational development through his consulting firm, the Prevail Organization. Today, in addition to spearheading Prevail's consulting projects, he is one of a select group of consultants authorized to convey the most effective, proven methodologies for organizations, the products of Dr. Edward De Bono. Now, the serious creativity process is designed for organizations seeking innovation and strategic leadership skills designed to produce higher levels of discretionary effort from their employee culture. Now, Mr. Todd with us today, he has also got an accumulated wealth of knowledge over the years in perception-focused thinking, collaborative thinking, creative thinking. He's really the thinking guy. And what he does is he uses thought leadership and thinking as a skill. And if I went into everything else that he's done, he wouldn't get a chance to speak. But I really am so looking forward to introducing you guys to him. And guys, it's Grant Todd, the author of Survive and Thrive, a blueprint for innovation in challenging times. Grant, so happy to have you here. How are you?
Thanks, Jeselle. It's great being with you today.
Wonderful. So tell me, this book that you've got, I mean, the title in itself is just really captivating because, yes, we can't deny that we are in challenging times. So what inspired you to write this book, and what is the message that you have for people about getting through the challenge?
Well, I think the key of this naturally was these challenging times are unlike any others that we've faced, and I think everyone is beginning to see that it just isn't going to be the same ever again, and as a result, we have got to really gather our wits. I'll put it in that phrase, but the aspect is that we've got to, it's not so much work our way through it, we've really got to think our way through new approaches, new solutions. We've really got to challenge the traditional thinking about the way we go about things. We have got to better understand when we perceive what things are. Just give you an example that in a recent study, David Perkins out of University of Harvard or Harvard University had come up with a study which he had established that about 98% of the mistakes we make in our thinking are done at the perception stage. And that's almost like when you stand at the fork of the road, or it could be the fork of 3 or 4 roads, just really beginning to understand how to pick the right road, how to really figure out what it is that you really want to apply your thinking to, which is going to end up, we hope, with improved, better, really maybe even breakthrough results. And that's the kind of results that we're going to need to cope with all the challenges that are going to keep coming at us.
Wow, Grant, that's incredible. I love that you use, the analogy of the road, because it is, we're all on this road, and how to pick the right road, that's a matter of a decision. So in this perception stage, can you tell us more about what that perception stage is and what the stages are to follow?
Well, the perception stage is let's accept, I hope you can accept, and the audience can accept the fact we all pretty much think we already think. So we get up each day, and that's just
I'm sorry,
our thought.
Could you repeat that? Did you just say that we think that we already think?
Oh, that's correct. I mean, we're quite satisfied that we all are going to get up with our thoughts, and we're going to go about them, and our mind and our brain is there as our support system, drawing upon memory and various things. Well, there really is a much deeper story to it, and a reason that I am one of those advocates or non-advocates disclaiming anything called common sense. It just doesn't exist. It can't, because we're so individual, and each of our minds and brains develop differently, and as a result, those are the challenges in which we go forth. In other words, throughout our lives, we are gathering in impressions from the world. We're taking them in. The brain is a self-organizing mechanism. It does this, frankly, in secret, in the unconscious, to where you really don't know how the brain has filed away the information in its file cabinet. And so when you go to draw upon information such as a perception, i.e. when you meet someone, when you see something, when you taste it, when you do other things, the brain's major role is to come back and try to identify it for you in a familiar pattern, because that's how it's filed it away. Now, the truth of the matter is that doesn't make it right. It could make it very wrong. In other words, the brain has put it into a pattern within your mind and in your memory that has a bent, a bias, a leaning to it that is not correct. So therefore, as you're addressing these 3 roads that come off the fork, you've got to go deeper. You can't just accept it as quickly as the brain delivers it, which causes us to act upon or put into our behavior what the brain has delivered to us. So we have got to come up with a schematic or scheme of things to do to really challenge or scrutinize the information the brain's given us. And that's what I mean by perception. Perception has to be developed here very quickly and comprehensively, but you've got to take enough time to be sure you've got all the information, all the facts are right, so that we don't go down the wrong road, make the wrong decision, or let our biases and our prejudices that are kind of built into our memory act upon our actions that we take.
Wow, excellent, Grant. And, this time that it takes, you had mentioned earlier about a breakthrough, and sometimes that people have breakthroughs. So once people are in stage 1 and they're like going through this perception and preparation phase, how long is that time before someone gets it, before they know what the right choice is? What really needs to happen in the brain for someone to be confident and fully ready to take the next step?
Well, in a sense, you're doing it outside the brain there by going through some very systematic steps, and these are the things that I've outlined inside the book, and that they're tools that can be used. Now, to move from the level of a tool, which is, let's say, the first time you use it, and the first time you pick up a tool and try to use it, it takes a lot more time. initially to get it right. But after you begin to practice and make that tool convenient and familiar to yourself, you can be much faster with it and careful with it and much more productive. So it is going to take practice, as anything does, to move it from an ability into a skill level. But I will promise
an ability into a skill level.
Right.
Ah, fantastic. That
clarifies. A tool can give us an immediate ability, like a wrench. I mean, you just literally can use a wrench pretty quickly to grasp something, but to really manipulate that wrench in all of its applications, you've really got to practice and use it over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
And then the brain retains it.
Yes, and then the brain retains it. So how would you suggest people, especially people of the old world thinking? You know, we are in a new world of thinking. However, although the world is not so new in this thinking, because even if we were to go back into the Think and Grow Rich days, the title specifically says Think and Grow Rich, not do more and get rich. What would you recommend to people that they can start thinking differently?
Well, thinking differently means that we've got to face one of our dreaded fears, and that is change. We cannot be fearful of change. In other words, we can't be fearful, or let's say we need to be able to pass through the fear of the unpredictable and get into...
Hold on, let's stop there for a moment.
Okay.
Pass through the fear of the unpredictable.
Right. It is probably the greatest stressor in our life is unpredictability.
Wow. Continue. I thought they needed to hear that again.
Okay. So we have to get through the unpredictable to enter this area where you may be, quite frankly, perplexed, confused, and others, but if you can put together or at least draw upon available tools of organizing your inquiry, in other words, beginning to ask the questions that you need of this unknown. What do I know? What do I need to know? What are the benefits within this, as an example? What are the risks? Which is another aspect that we seem to lean to very easily, is that risks will overwhelm us and we will choose to take no action. And that we'd rather do that safely to get back into what we know. But that is a barrier to take us to the place we need to be. The place we need to be is on the other side of that fear, the other side of the confusion, the complexity, so then we can start drawing upon the real, what I want to call the treasure within our brain. Just as much as it can misguide us, the brain has a wealth of information of which you can draw upon that will help you begin to change your world or to think about the world in a very different way, and therefore not to be fearful about those changes and the steps you're going to have to make to change your life.
Wow. You know, Grant, we all kind of, I use the word popcorn. You put it in the microwave and it pops at different times, and we all get this in little spurts, and sometimes we pop like crazy, and there are some kernels that just never get popped. I'm curious to know, when was it for you that it just all clicked and you had your breakthrough and you just got it, like it all made sense? When was it for you, and how did you turn that into something that you can now use with other people and corporations and, you know, executives to create this teaching, this new thought?
Well, I like your analogy of popcorn, Jeselle.
Oh, thank you.
I think it was well taken. You've got me thinking about that as maybe another metaphor. When I began to, I guess through my life and through the career, I found myself, as you will find, organizations are departmentally designed. And you end up, and I always was coming through an organization in the several that I've worked for, and I was always on what I considered myself to be a creative type, but the creative type always got put over into kind of the enterprise side of the organization. If you look at a pyramid, and on the opposite side of it, you had the side that was the thrift side. That's where you count your money. That's your coin. And there's always an inherent conflict between thrift and enterprise. And at the same time, I also had difficulty because I was in my early years were the early stages of the information analysis, and the information people were working with I's and O's, and everything was linear and into place, and they really couldn't address a question that wasn't straightforward or answered linear-wise. I found that in my side, because I spent a lot of time working kind of to the right side of the brain, which was the possibilities, that I really couldn't answer. I lost a language between myself and what I call the thrift side. And I know this is kind of making this a little bit long for you, but I've found that I begin to identify, and this is Dr. DeBono, I'll give him full credit for this myth metaphor. He compares it between water logic and rock logic. And it is the inherent positioning of those two. If you'll find yourself in the country anywhere or just be around where there is a immovable object and a flowing material around it, as is water, those are the two different descriptors, I think, are the simplest way to explain how we have to go about on a continuous change of our thinking, and where, as an example, a rock represents immovable, rock logic that is set and fixed, and this is the way we've always done things. Water logic is continually seeking new places to go and new levels to seek, and they're continually moving in and around things in an easy flow, and we need to be accepting those new changes, not without scrutiny, but we need to be more open and available to scrutinizing new ideas and alternatives, because that's where we're going to find the solutions for the challenges that come at us constantly, every day, in different shapes and in different colors.
Yes. You know what's great about that is, the reference to nature. And nature is one of those things, and here's another analogy that maybe you can take with you, is that there are no straight lines in nature. And nature is just so perfectly balanced that it takes care of itself because all of the answers are just right there or somewhere very close by.
That's correct. Yeah.
I love what you have used here with the water logic and the rock logic. Now, I think if you can maybe explain how you feel about this, people just taking the time to observe and acknowledge where they're at in their state, because that's really where the shift begins, don't you think?
Well, it is. And, of course, you've got so many cliches that are out there that are against taking time, okay? You've got cliches that are out there saying, okay, we're going to analyze till we're paralyzed. You can't just, we haven't got all day. We've got to turn this thing around really fast. Now, it doesn't mean, or the idea of taking the appropriate time at the appropriate place to give really good scrutiny and analysis of facts, but you really have got to accept that once you can get that down into a kind of a systematic process, you can then start to put time limits on it. And that's what we ultimately do in our tool sets that we take out to the various audiences that we speak to. We start them and talk in terms of we only have X number of minutes to think about this. Before we start to the next session, we may take less minutes and less minutes and less minutes. So
Great answer.
So we end up offering, as an example, we're pretty confident we can take 50% of the time out of any given meeting.
Wow, that's a great answer, Grant, because I love how you really explained that, because time is also a tool. And the more you practice with time, the faster, you can become more effective and efficient, and therefore you get more free time,
That's the skill. That's the skill, and that's the productivity. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and I think that is one of the secrets to success that people just don't understand, and that is what the Prevail organization really does, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is, and that's what good quality tools and the commitment to them will result in. That's correct.
Good quality tools with the commitment to result in them. I think that is just the description of a perfect person to work with on any level, no matter what the outcome is. So, you have proven methods of success, and you have some strategy building processes which you use. Now, you mentioned perception. We can't give everybody all of them because there'd be nothing left for them to read about in the book. So let's talk about what happens when you... What is the power of a result? Talk about this engine, the results engine that you've created.
Well, the results engine actually is not something I created. It is a term. It happens to belong to a company that I hold high regards for, and that is that they have through a lot of research of behavior, a lot of research in ultimately what people are trying to seek, they have put together some incredible programs that can be applied, if you will, at the end of, let's say, our processes, so that we talk now about the application range. Because it's easy to talk about things, and in fact, a lot of people will talk about change. As I said, is a very big threatening thing, but they'll talk about it, they just won't act on it. So the aspect on this is that we want to be sure that we go through addressing the change, what it really means from its perception level to creating the way that we're going to introduce it, to engaging everyone that has to introduce it, and we'll call that the collaborative stage. And then we take that all the way through into where now it's the application stage. And the application stage is where the results engine, if you will, comes in play. What we have to do now is that originally there was a aim or a goal or an objective at the beginning of the whole thought process. Now this is the outcome. Now how do we apply everything that we have worked through, the systems we put in place, the agreements we put in place, the objectives we put in place, and in fact the resources that we've had to put in place now have to play themselves out in application, and it's during that application that we have to stay just as committed, we have to stay just engaged. Let's say if we take an organization, a company, well, you've got people who are called the bosses, and you've got the worker bees, and you've got others. All of them have to be engaged in the objective accomplishing this. So many training programs, unfortunately, go through as a kind of a checklist of saying, well, here, take your time and see if you learn anything. But frankly, the organization doesn't care if you come back with basically any results. I mean, they'd be thrilled if you did, but it wasn't their specific goal by sending you to training that was going to say you're going to be 2 bars above your capability when you come back. So what we want to do is measure that so that it truly can be applied or recognized even at what's so important to an organization is the bottom line. Have we saved time? Have we saved money? Have we created a new revenue stream? Have we made it easier and more seamlessly invisible in an organization to get things done faster? These are the products of what I'll call the innovative thinking stream, or the pathway, or the blueprint, and that's what I think that's what's going to change the world, or change the destiny of a company, or change the destiny of an individual inside a company.
Amazing. Grant, I mean, that's just such a valuable piece of information that is what's going to change anything. You name it, it's about new thought. That's what's going to bring the change. Thought leadership, thinking as a skill, survive and thrive, a blueprint for innovation in challenging times. That's the name of the book. If there was one thing that you would want our listeners to know right now about new thoughts, take away with them for the rest of this day, for the rest of their lives, Grant, what would that one thing be?
Samuel Clemens once said, it isn't what we don't know that keeps us so ignorant. It's what we know that isn't so.
And we'll leave it there, guys. This has been Motivational Minds Radio. In order to get more information about Grant, you can reach him at info@prevail.org. It's prevail.org. And the number there is 828-626-3222. Info 828-626-3222. He will make sure to get back to you all in any information, any emails that you guys send his way. Just make sure that you mention that you have heard him on Motivational Minds Radio. And Grant, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And all of you guys, just start changing your thoughts. We're coming into a new world, and I'm so glad that we can be here to share that new world of new thinking with you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Jeselle. Thanks, everybody.